Warning: the following video contains explicit language which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Are you ready?
Hey everybody, it's Jeff. Really nice day here in Maine, sunny and not a cloud in the sky. It's really beautiful. It's like 69 degrees here, so people are out enjoying the day. It's a great thing going on there. Got a couple of videos here, this first one comes from Ben Meiselas, and he's going to be talking about how Fox News has been humiliated as Trump has retreated on so many fronts here of things he said he would do, so anyway, that's kind of left people like Jesse Waters here in limbo. So let's go to that, and then we'll discuss that on the other side.
Fox just got a rude awakening as they've been pushing, by and large, the Trump regime's talking points that tariffs are going to make America so rich and that the more tariffs, the better. And you have Fox hosts like Jesse Waters out there who are out there saying, no, these tariffs are brilliant. This is how you break Xi Jinping. So no, Trump really wants these tariffs. Tariffs are great. Well, now these Fox hosts are eating their words the same way Donald Trump lied, though, and said that the foreign countries would eat the tariffs because the foreign countries don't eat the tariffs. What was happening is exactly what we and economists told you was going to happen, that the costs were going to get passed on to the consumers in the form of basically the largest regressive tax in history. By the way, layer on that the disastrous Trump big beautiful budget, which is one big beautiful disaster. More on that in a bit. And Americans are getting screwed. But one thing I want to point out as well is that not only Donald Trump make these state regime media hosts like Jesse Waters now look utterly stupid, but Donald Trump also has not pulled out his tariffs, I think in the appropriate time. So if you're actually looking what economists are saying right now, the same percentage of recessionary risk exists now because of this 100 days or whatever you want to call it of absolute madness where Donald Trump declared trade wars against the world and then withdrew the trade wars against the world. Let me show you what went down here. So I just want to take some of the receipts and show you what the Fox hosts themselves were doing. So here you have specifically Jesse Waters was pushing this. And now Jesse Waters is going to say, well, actually, I think that removing the tariffs, this was all part of some brilliant chess move. And I was involved in it. And I was part of the crazy Ivan theory. That's what they call it. Crazy Ivan does crazy things. No, he's just an idiot who wakes up, does things that harms the economy, and then gets scared and panics and then withdraws those plans. So here's Jesse Waters from April 17th, basically saying, what we're going to be able to do with these tariffs, here's the brilliance. We're going to be able to collapse the Chinese system. This is Trump attacking Xi and Donald Trump's going the distance. Watch what Jesse Waters said on April 17th. Play this clip.
Trump, if this is pulled off, could go down in the history as the guy who broke China. Now, the question is, what kind of collateral damage is that going to cause? Are we going to be able to reindustrialize at the same time as we collapse the Chinese system? I don't know. He's got to stick the landing perfectly. We have to get deals with Mexico and Canada. That is the most important. And I'm sure we'll get a deal with the Europeans.
Okay, well, why don't I rewind and show you what Jesse Waters said on April 10th, 2025, when he goes, we're going to collapse China's economy. That's what this is about. When actually the opposite took place. And now the data that we have actually shows that China's economy was growing, America's economy retracted, or contracted rather, and the rest of the world now actually views China as a more favorable and reliable partner than the United States. But here's Jesse Waters from April 10th. Let's play it.
What you're seeing right now is Trump is getting the entire world to rally with us against the Chinese. If he can cut deals so they lower their trade barriers against us, invest in the United States, bring their factories here, and raise their trade barriers against China, what that does to China, it collapses their economy, mass unemployment, and then possibly the regime gets toppled. So if they don't want their regime getting toppled, they have to cut a deal with us.
Now, here's Jesse Waters from April 9th, 2025. You see, I'm bringing receipt after receipt. And here he talks about remember how Reagan crushed the Soviet Union? He goes, Trump is going to crush China with these tariffs. Play this clip.
Remember how Reagan crushed the Soviet Union? He used economic force and military spending to break them into pieces. Trump has an opportunity to do the exact same thing here in China. It's what everybody has always wanted.
All right, we're taking some stops through memory lane right here. Here's Jesse Waters on April 8th, 2025. Let's play it.
And now you're seeing what Trump's trying to do. He's trying to destroy China. Because if you break the Chinese economy, you put America back on top. The Chinese thought they were going to overtake us. It's not going to happen if this thing goes through. If you can cut off their exports, they're toast. You can't export all these cheap products here. You're definitely not going to sell them into Europe because they don't have the consumer power. And so the Chinese economy, they can't consume their own stuff because they don't have enough wealth and they don't have enough families, to be honest with you. And so you're going to have to lay people off, and then the whole country is going to disintegrate. So that's a good thing. And then you're breaking China off from Russia, because this Chinese economy is feeding the Russians. And right now you drop oil to $60 a barrel. So it starves Putin's war machine. And then you separate those two countries. So look what we're doing also at the same time in the Middle East. You have the Syrians, now they're on our side. They're proxies, now ours. And then you have carriers surrounding the Iranians. And we're saying you better negotiate, not nuke up, or we'll bomb. And if they can do a deal there, that's the second Russian proxy that falls. And we'll get that Iranian oil back on the world market, and it keeps the price of oil going lower. We need cheap energy. And then the Europeans, they don't have another game. They have to sell here. They can't sell it anywhere else. And what you're seeing is the EU trade bloc starting to break. Hungary's trying to do a bilateral deal. Your English are going to start trying to just negotiate directly with us. And it splits Germany from France, and then you throw in the Greenland thing.
Of course.
And then you throw in the NATO thing, because right now Pete Hegseth's going, we might bring some troops home. So they're really off kilter. You've now surrounded the Chinese. They thought the Chinese were going to cut deals with the Japanese and the South Koreans. Didn't happen. Thought it was going to cut deals with the Europeans. Didn't happen. And Trump sent Hegseth down to the Panama Canal. He's saying it's ours. And we're wrestling TikTok away from that country, too. Everything is moving perfectly at the same time.
Now, here's Jesse Waters on April 7th, 2025, and saying how this is how Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is going to break the Bank of China. Let's play the clip.
Now, Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, broke the Bank of England. That's who I want running this. He'll probably break the Bank of China. And that's what we're trying to do here. This is a 40-year problem, and we've only been at it for 4 days. Take a breath.
Now, this Wall Street had been saying, wait a minute, like, this is going to crush business. This is going to destroy everything. So Fox had on Jameson Greer, who's Trump's top trade representative, when the Trump regime was saying, no, there's no chance we're withdrawing these tariffs. These tariffs will always stay in place. And Jameson Greer says, all of these bad projections that we're getting, that's coming from Wall Street, and they don't know what the hell they're doing. And so, no, we're definitely keeping the tariffs in place. This was on Fox. Play this clip.
They say it's going to cost the American household $4,800.
What do you say to those households?
Well, first of all, I would say with respect to those projections, a lot of those are Wall Street analysts who have a lot to lose themselves. In the first term, we put a lot of tariffs on China, and we saw similar predictions. Those ended up being wrong. Inflation went down. I think the economic fundamentals of our country are still very, very good. And while there may be an adjustment, I think we're going to be on a good path, and I don't think we're going to see that level of increase in household expenses.
All right. So now, of course, we know that Donald Trump reduced the tariffs unilaterally on China. It's not a deal. It's just a retreat by Donald Trump, right? It's a surrender by Donald Trump, but he still kept the tariffs at about 30%. So Trump took off 145% tariffs against China and is now imposing a 30% levy. And again, that's a 30% tax on American importers, which is passed on to the American consumer in the form of a regressive tax, the largest in American history right there. It's still a significant amount right there. So now what do you go? Like, it's kind of the worst of all worlds right there. By the way, China was smart because China reduced its 125% tariff to 10%. So what the tax that China's putting on its people is only 10%. So it's less, allowing more business to go into China. That's what it was doing. But even with all of this data, Fox, where are you going now? Because now what we're seeing is even JP Morgan says, even with what Trump did, by the way, which is a complete surrender, in my opinion, JP Morgan goes, we keep our probability of recession at 60% in the context of the largest tax hike in over 50 years, while investors perceive the risk of stagflation as significant. We continue to see ongoing vulnerability of capital outflows in the U.S. as foreign interest and trust is tested. You have Austin Goolsbee, president of the Chicago Federal Reserve, one of the most respected economists ever in the world. It is definitely less impactful stagflationary than the path we were on based on Trump's surrender, yet it's 3 to 5 times higher than what it was before. So it's going to make growth slower and make prices rise, just at a slower beat versus a rapid beat that it was taking at. The Yale Budget Lab updated their simulations using the 30% tariff on China. Bottom line, there's still a significant stagflation shock to the United States economy. And here you even have the Bank of England talking about the UK-US deal, and they refer to it as quite slender. In other words, phony, weak, pathetic, not a real deal. We'll keep you posted with more, but there it is. You saw Fox. What you going to say now, Fox? Oh, actually, the 145, that was all part of the art of the deal. It was just so smart. No, you just wrecked people's lives, real American people's lives, and people around the world for no reason, only to back down, to show how weak you are, and to show America as not reliable in international trade. That's not good. If you think that's good, well then Trump's got a $400 million Qatari jet to sell you. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 5 million subscribers. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, it's quite a shit show. You know, even Fox News can't really put all their eggs in one basket when it comes to thinking what they know Trump is going to do. I mean, Trump changes his mind, you know, or he misleads people into thinking he's going to do one thing, and then he turns around and he does something completely opposite. And so it's difficult for people like Fox News and MAGA, okay, to, you know, say, oh, this is what he's going to do. We're sure of it. We're certain of it. Well, you can't be. Not with Trump. You can't be certain. He tells you one thing and he does another. He's done that, I don't know how many times already this year, okay? You would think they'd get tired of that. You know, MAGA has such a short patience with Democrats, but they seem to have more patience with Trump. Where do they get that extra patience? I don't know. I wish they would use some of that patience when it comes to Democrats in office, waiting to see things happen, but they don't. Okay, but Trump goes into office and totally, royally screws up everything, and they're still there quiet and not saying anything. Okay, so we know from the recent history of things why that is. Okay, cultism. So Jesse tries to sound smart when he's talking about what, oh, Trump, you know, this is what he was doing the last few months here, trying to sound like, oh yes, we know what Trump's doing and he's smart, it's great. Well, he doesn't offer any facts or any, you know, truth to anything what he's saying. He's just reacting to what Trump does, and his job is to cheerlead him on. Okay, so if Trump takes a shit on the White House lawn in front of everyone to see, he's going to try to spin that into something good and say that it was for the good of the country and we're all going to benefit from it. You know, it's like a puppet that has a cord. You know, you pull it and it's only going to tell you what you want to hear. Okay, but unfortunately, for the rest of us who don't watch Fox and don't think much of Jesse Waters, what he says falls on deaf ears. Okay, we don't care what he thinks. All right. We know what he is. He's just a fucking lackey, propagandist. That's all he is. All right. And of course, his job is to twist everything into something positive that Trump does. Even if Trump wrecks the economy, he's going to go out there and say that it's not wrecked. So what are you going to do with a guy like that? Okay, just let him burn, you know, burn his bridges, I guess, basically. But, you know, the kinds of people that you have working at Fox, okay, from my impression, I mean, I don't watch the show, but I see a lot of videos from other people that do videos like what I do, talking about, oh, did you see this on Fox? Did you see that? You know, and they do like little clips of it. From what I gather about Fox News is that it feels like a company that has no direction. It's rudderless, okay? And their direction basically is anywhere Trump goes. They're following Trump, which means Trump is really the one running that outfit, not whoever, what his name is, okay, that old guy from Australia. It has nothing to do with him. It's about Trump. They're following Trump's lead. And I wouldn't be surprised if they are in direct communication with the Trump administration and getting their cues from, you know, what's her name there, the press secretary. I can't, you know, I think that's really what it is. And that's why the show, I guess, feels so directionless and so comical at times because of the things that they say. They're being asked to spin things because nobody believes Trump. People are starting to disbelieve anything that this press secretary says. And they don't like Pam Bondi and anything she's been saying. So it falls on Fox News to pick up where they basically failed. So I think that's what we got going on here, is that you got this connection with Fox News being the official news organization of the Trump administration. Okay, even Hitler had his own newspaper when he was in during the Nazi years. Okay, he had his own propaganda machine. It was, I can't remember what they called it, but it was a newspaper outfit that only printed things that supported Hitler and what he was doing. So Fox News is that now. And you know, the way, you know, Jesse Waters sitting there talking in those clips, I mean, he comes up with some of the craziest things, and it's supposed to make sense to people watching. And you know, it just sounds like he's just making things up. Okay, he's trying to paint a picture using colors he doesn't have. Okay, and it's ridiculous. And I don't see how people can stand watching that station. I really don't. I mean, it must be obvious at this point now that Fox is got their lips glued to Trump's butt. Okay, it really has to be very obvious now. And for people who give a shit about, you know, hearing facts about the news, why would you watch Fox? Okay, why would you listen to Fox News when they tell you the economy's doing good? Okay, when it's shown otherwise, that it's actually at its lowest. Okay, they tell you, oh, inflation is down. Okay, from being way up, only because people aren't buying. Okay, inflation is down because people are buying less, and it's not going to stay down if it's coming down because people are out of work. So you know what I'm saying? I mean, they try to tell you something that you'll walk away saying is good news, but they don't want you to think too deep into that. Okay, or ask themselves, why is it down? Why did it come down? You know. And now you got Trump out there making deals with Saudi Arabia, and they're so happy with that they gave him a goddamn jet. And I'll tell you right now, it's not as popular a thing in this country as you might think. There's a lot of people on both sides of the political aisle that saw this and really got pissed. Okay? And I got this article here from The Guardian here that talks about that. And I'm going to read that to you. It's written by Ed Pilkington. And it's entitled, Trump Faces Backlash of MAGA Faithful Over Plan to Accept Plane Gift from Qatar. Donald Trump is all too comfortable brushing aside criticism from Democrats and the quote-unquote fake news media. But when the flack over his decision to accept a $400 million luxury jet from the Qatari government comes from his most devoted supporters, it might behoove the president to listen. Now, this jet, by the way, had gold-plated toilets, gold-plated walls. I mean, this fucking thing, to make that Air Force One would be a sin. Seriously. Okay? Air Force One is not supposed to be a fucking luxury jet, but that's what they gave him. Stars of Trump's Make America Great Again firmament are speaking out in unambiguous terms against the plan for him to be donated a jet described as a palace in the sky and convert it into Air Force One. They are damning the idea in Trump's own language, telling him that this is not, quote, draining the swamp, unquote, as he promised to do during his first presidency, and nor does it conform to the theme of his second Oval Office term, quote unquote, America First. Ben Shapiro, the prominent right-wing commentator, led the charge on his daily podcast, quote, President Trump promised to drain the swamp. This is not, in fact, draining the swamp, unquote, he said. Linking Qatar to the militant Palestinian group Hamas and Al Jazeera, the media network that is widely detested on the right and is partly funded by the Qatari government, he added, quote, taking sacks of goodies from people who support Hamas, Muslim Brotherhood, Al Jazeera, all the rest, that's not America First. If you want President Trump to succeed, this kind of skeezy stuff would be stopped, unquote. The planned gift of the 13-year-old Boeing 747-8 jumbo jet, which Trump would inherit personally after he leaves the White House, has achieved the seemingly impossible. It has united the president's most fervent fans with his most ardent opponents. Laura Loomer, the far-right MAGA activist, warned that the proposed gift would put, quote, such a stain on the administration, unquote. Loomer said she loved Trump and would, quote, take a bullet for him, but I have to call a spade a spade. We cannot accept a $400 million gift from jihadists in suits, unquote. The conservative New York Post, meanwhile, published an editorial headlined, quote, Qatar's palace in the sky jet is not a free gift, and Trump shouldn't accept it as one, unquote. Right-wing pundits on social media have proceeded to dredge up uncomfortable material for Trump with an enthusiasm which they normally reserve for progressive Democrats. A clip of Trump talking on the White House lawn from 2017, in which he accused Qatar of historically being a, quote, funder of terrorism at a very high level, unquote, circulated wildly. The maelstrom comes as Trump begins a 4-day tour of wealthy Gulf states, arriving in Saudi Arabia on Tuesday. His aim is to steal a number of lucrative investments and arms deals in the region, but the visit is in danger of being overshadowed by the plane controversy. Republicans in the U.S. Senate have also begun to pipe up, speaking ominously about interrogating the gift under the emoluments cause of the U.S. Constitution. That clause prevents federal officials, including the president, from accepting high-value gifts and payments from foreign governments without the say-so of Congress. Rand Paul, the Republican senator from Kentucky, told Fox News that in his opinion, quote, it's not worth the appearance of impropriety, unquote. Well, whether it's improper or not, I don't think it's worth it, unquote, Paul said. He added, quote, it's not like a ride on the plane. We are talking about the entire $400 million plane, unquote. Let's see. So, yeah, that's from The Guardian. You know, and they're right. Okay, for once, the Republicans are correct. This doesn't look good, and it's not right for the president to take a gift like that, okay? And with him campaigning last year on the things that he said about America First and, you know, everything pro-American and stuff, this country hasn't been, you know, on really that great of terms with us in history. I mean, it's just, okay, they are responsible for a lot of nasty shit that goes on over there, and, you know, to get a gift from them, what can I say? I mean, how would it look if Putin gave Trump, you know, a great, you know, an airplane that's $500 million fucking dollars? I mean, a country that's always been at odds with us, getting a gift from them. I mean, how does that look? I mean, it does. I mean, it just makes, you know, our country, or and especially the presidency, look bad. You know, it's a stain. People don't like it. And like I said, this is the only time I think Democrats and Republicans have come together on this and agreed that yes, he shouldn't have done that. He shouldn't have taken it. But they said they want to convert it into an Air Force One. What's wrong with the Air Force One that we have? I know they take good care of that plane. I was in the Air Force. Okay, that fucking plane is immaculate. That's got everything one needs. And unfortunately, in this day and age, in the way we fight wars, Air Force One is really almost unnecessary at this point. I think it just because you cannot run a country forever in the air in an emergency situation. And because, you know, Christ, we got planes that locate other planes, and, you know, without escorts, I mean, that Air Force One is a big pig in the air that's not going to be able to maneuver itself fast enough to avoid attack. So it would be the wrong place to be if you're a leader, to be in the air in a plane that can be shot down easily by surface-to-air missiles or jets or whatever the hell, you know, they want to throw at it. Okay, I mean, they don't have, you know, the facility to be able to, you know, protect the president forever in the sky without help. Okay, so I always had a question about that. You know, I mean, it was fine, I guess, during the 80s, I suppose, because it was, you know, but it seems like an outdated thing, you know. And I think it would be better just to put the president underground somewhere in an emergency situation. It'd be better, I think, more protected that way than having him up in the air, because he's going to have to land sometime, right? And if there's no place to land because of whatever's going on, then you're fucked. But aside from that, getting that gift from them, I mean, it's one thing if, I guess if you say it was a personal gift, but it's not personal, okay? If they're going to use it as an Air Force One, then it's not a personal gift. It's a gift for, you know, the military, basically, because that's who's going to be taking care of the damn thing. And like I said, it's got gold-plated seats and walls and everything, and they said you walk in there, it's like being inside of a fucking palace. Why? I mean, the president has to feel like he's in a palace when he's in Air Force One. I mean, like they said, talk about trying to drain the swamp. That ain't draining nothing. You're just adding more into it. You know, you got the swamp now in the air. People don't like to see, you know, our president being, you know, saturated with money and gifts and stuff, because that's not why we put these people in power. They are there to support us, you know, the working class, the people out there trying to make ends meet to pay their bills. That's what he's supposed to be there working for, not to enrich himself. Trump's got enough fucking money. Why does he need that plane? He doesn't need it. He won't live long enough to enjoy it anyway. Okay? So, no, he doesn't need a 747. I mean, I know he's heavy and, you know, heavy set and all that, but I think they can, you know, get a plane that can get him up in the air well enough, you know. And then there's this other concern about security. Did they bug the plane? You know, Qatar. I mean, they're giving him a plane that's full of listening devices and stuff like that so they can hear what the president's talking about. You know, remember, like I said, we don't have a very good ground standing with them in that country, that region of the world, okay? We've had our problems. And before accepting anything like that from them, you know, I'd have that motherfucker checked out from nose to tail. I mean, I just make sure that there's nothing nefarious, you know, where that thing can just blow up in somebody's command or something, or, you know what I'm saying? Security, it has to come first when it's with the president, okay? You don't give the president something and expect that it's safe without having it cleared, like going through customs with, you know, the FBI and all them, making sure that that plane's safe. And I just feel like this is really a slap in the face to this country, that we have this president who is so fucking he's so corruptible. He's so easily corrupted. They're flattering him, is what they're doing. They want something from him. And this is the price. They give him that. But they want him to do something. That's why this happened, okay? What did Trump promise he was going to give them? That should be the concern over this at this point in the game. Is what did they promise him or want from him? And Trump ostensibly agreed. That's ergo he gets the plane. So what the hell was it they needed from him? Because look, this is a guy who doesn't get nothing for free. You know, he's got to give to get. They think the media's calling this a gift. No, it's not a gift. You don't get gifts in that and like that from countries without a price tag. What was the price? Okay, that's what the media should be following up on here, is what did Trump make an agreement to? And he gets that plane. You know, you have to wonder, because it's important for all of us to be inquisitive. And I think if MAGA wants to, spin their tires in the mud over the anger issue of it, okay, fine. But, you know, if you want to make some headway, start pressing people to find out what the hell did he make an agreement to get that plane. Okay, find that out, because you know this is, you know, they wouldn't have had him go all the way over there just to accept a plane that they easily could have flown over here and put a big old ribbon on it and say, here you go, Trump, that's for you. That's not how it worked. He had to go over there, okay, and talk to these people over there, and then he gets that plane. What the fuck did they talk about? What the hell was the agreement? All right, let's go to the commercial break. We'll be right back.
I'm Alex Curtis. I'm a lobsterman in Maine, and this is me.
I'm Roxy Sugar, and this is me.
I'm Eric Hopkins. I'm an artist, and this is me.
This is me.
Me.
This is me.
This is me.
At the end of the journey, the main thing is you, original.
Stephen Miller designed it. Donald Trump demanded it. Kristi Noem and Holman ordered you to do it. Illegal deportations, mass raids, rounding up people who are here legally, arresting citizens, family separations, snatching students off the street for tweeting, detention without hearings, shipping them to foreign prisons, deportations defying court orders. When government agents like you abuse your power, when you trample civil and constitutional rights, you can be held personally liable in civil court. You can lose everything, and Trump can't pardon you. That includes ICE, that includes CBP, contractors, DOJ, even the White House. Yep, every last Trump official pulling the strings. Even, well, especially the lawyers. If you think you're safe behind badges and titles, you're wrong. You do a hard, dangerous job. You're vital to our security. But what they have you doing now isn't law enforcement. It's just lawless, and you'll pay the price for following illegal orders.
The
oh girl. But I am a few person of your love. So I believe you when you said you had love. It's been so many times I can still hurt some more.
Never mix salt with these two ingredients if you don't want your hose to be rock hard tonight. Every time you see an older man with a young woman, you can bet he's using the salt trick. In fact, I've been left unable to walk for more than 4 days because of it. This talk about women only wanting money is just an excuse from guys who can't perform in bed. What women really care about is whether a man can heat things up in the bedroom and keep everything working. Having worked in the adult industry for many years, I discovered this after watching a video by Emily, a friend and former adult film star. In the video, Emily reveals that every man has a little hidden button on his body. When activated, it can make even 80-year-old men stand tall and be ready to handle any young woman for 2 straight hours. Dr. Jack Jordan scientifically proved this, and the method works so well that it makes your body stay rock solid whenever you want. All you need is the salt recipe in the morning with a bit of warm water. It takes less than 15 seconds. Fun fact, this recipe was banned for over 40 years because it threatened the sales of the famous little blue pill in pharmacies. After the video about salt featuring the ex-actress went viral, I can now share it here. Just click the link in the description or the pinned comment to access everything you need to make this recipe. Watch the video alone because it includes some very steamy practical demonstrations. Jack shows exactly how to do it and the results it delivers instantly. Everything you can imagine happens right in front of the cameras with nothing censored. So grab your headphones, click the link below, and get ready for content so hot it might even make you want to join in yourself.
Some people have a deep, abiding respect for the natural beauty that was once this country. And some people don't. People start pollution. People can stop it. Write for Pollution Booklet, Box 1771, Radio City Station, New York.
Be a part of the entertainment value of a lifetime.
I loved it. It was the best performance I've seen in a lifetime.
I loved the show. I liked it very much. He's a very entertaining man. It's well worth the money.
Now appearing in Charlottetown, coming to Halifax November 6th to the 18th, and St. John November 20th through the 26th.
So, this other video I have is from Kyle Kulinski, and he's going to talk about how Anonymous is going to war against Trump's fascism here. So, let's take a look at that here. We'll discuss afterwards.
So this right here is fascinating, y'all. I don't know how many of you remember, but we covered a story about how the ethical hacker group Anonymous, they released a video basically warning, like, it's on now, bitch, talking to the Trump regime. And I remember covering that. We were speculating, like, what are they going to do? Well, we now know at least one of the things that they're doing. Global X, the company doing many deportation flights for ICE, has been hacked. Hackers claim to have stolen flight manifest information and flight details and have also defaced the website. So when you went to the website, it would say this: Anonymous, Operation Dreadnought. Anonymous has decided to enforce the judge's order since you and your sycophant staff ignore lawful orders that go against your fascist plans. You lose again, Donnie. A federal judge ruled on May 1st, 2025, that the Trump administration's invocation of the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 to remove alleged members of the Venezuelan gang from this country is unlawful. The president cannot summarily declare that a foreign nation or government has threatened or perpetrated an invasion or predatory incursion of the United States, followed by the identification of the alien enemies subject to detention or removal. The proclamation makes no reference to and in no manner suggests that a threat exists of an organized, armed group of individuals entering the United States in the direction of Venezuela to conquer the country or assume control over a portion of the nation. Thus, the proclamation's language cannot be read as describing conduct that falls within the meaning of invasion for purposes of the AEA. Allowing the president to unilaterally define the conditions when he may invoke the AEA and then summarily declare that those conditions exist would remove all limitations to the executive branch's authority under the AEA and would strip the courts of their traditional role of interpreting congressional statutes to determine whether a government official has exceeded the statute's scope. The law does not support such a position. That was the Trump-appointed federal U.S. District Judge Fernandez Rodriguez. And then they go on to say, we are anonymous, we are legion, we do not forgive, we do not forget, expect us. So they hacked the airline or the airline company that's doing a lot of the deportations. So there's an article here on this as well about how they were hacked. Hackers have targeted Global X Air, one of the main airlines the Trump administration is using as part of its deportation efforts, and stolen what they say are the flight records and passenger manifests of all its flights, including those for deportation, 404 Media has learned. So, because of what they're doing, we also will get, you know how we don't know a lot of the people who were sent to the slave labor gulag concentration camp in El Salvador? We didn't know all of them. They're trying to get us the names of all the people who were sent. The data which the hackers contacted 404 Media and other journalists about unprompted could provide granular insight into who exactly has been deported on Global X flights, when, and to where, with Global X being the charter company that facilitated the deportation of hundreds of Venezuelans to El Salvador. And then they go on to quote from the piece. The hacker says the data includes flight records and passenger lists. The hacker sent 404 Media a copy of the data, which is sorted into folders dated every day from January 19th through May 1st. 404 Media cross-checked known information about ICE deportation flights that come from official and confirmable sources with information contained on the flight manifest and flight details obtained by the hacker. Information about Kilmar Abrego Garcia's flight is in the hack data. For example, the hackers obtained what appears to be detailed flight information about Global X flights 6143, 6145, and 6122 that left from Harlingen, Texas's Valley International Airport on March 15th. These flights are at the center of a class action lawsuit filed by 5 pseudonymous Venezuelan men against the Trump administration, which eventually went to the Supreme Court and which took off during and immediately following a court proceeding in which their lawyers were trying to get a restraining order to prevent the flights from taking off. During a district court proceeding in Washington, D.C., the federal government argued that it had no flight information to share with the court. Quote, the government surprisingly represented that it still had no flight details to share during the hearing. The judge's opinion in the case reads, when pressed, government counsel stated that the operation details he had learned during the recess raised potential national security issues, so they could not be shared while the public and press listened. So that's just a lie. Let's be clear about what they're doing here. They are saying the law is clear. The courts have ruled. You are flagrantly violating not just one court order, multiple court orders. And so what they're saying is, if nobody's going to make you comply, we're going to do that. We're going to try to do that. All the shit that you're trying to keep secret, it's all coming to light. We got all the information. We're going to give all the information to the media. We're going to learn about all these innocent people that you sent to this concentration camp, and we're not going to take it standing down. Guys, I got to be honest, I don't know how anybody can look at this and disagree. I don't get it. Like, we talk about this all the time, right? But like, nobody does anything. When something is clearly illegal, clearly unconstitutional, clearly immoral, clearly unethical, and nobody does anything about it, what kind of a fucking society are we living in? Right? And the courts don't really have an enforcement mechanism, but this is like a backdoor enforcement mechanism, right? Imagine, for example, they could, in the future, do some sort of cyber attack on the entire network that Global X flies on and make it so that the planes can't take off at all, right? This honestly, it reminds me of Noam Chomsky talked about when is it justified to do, for example, say property violence. And he said, You can imagine a scenario where there's a shipment of weapons that are about to be sent to Vietnam that we know, based on reporting and the facts on the ground, these weapons are going to be used to massacre innocent landless peasants. And what Chomsky says is, if somebody were to go into the weapons depot before the shipment goes out and the building's empty, nobody gets hurt, and they were to destroy the weapons, he said that's an example of ethical property violence, where technically you're committing a crime because you are, messing up the property, but it is clearly the morally correct thing to do. It is clearly the just thing to do. It is clearly like you actually have more concern for the law and for justice and for reason. If you say, we're going to take all these weapons which are about to be used to massacre innocent people and we're going to fucking throw them in the ocean, right? Or we're going to destroy the guns and leave the wreckage sitting there. And that's one of those things, it's like in philosophy class, you would talk about this. Is it justified to, you don't have any money, your kid is really sick, the medicine's sitting right there, you can't afford it, nobody's loaning you the money to pay for it. Is it the moral thing to do to say, I don't have the money, so I will just leave that and let my kid suffer and die? Or is it the moral thing to do to grab the medicine? In philosophy class, you have these debates, you have these discussions. And, I think the reasonable and correct position in that one in particular is the medicine shouldn't cost any money anyway. In a civilized society, tax money should fund universal health care, including if you need medicine when you're sick, you get help. That's it. That's how a civilized society works. It's paid for by tax money, universal healthcare system. Nobody should be priced out of getting medicine. So the clearly moral thing in that scenario is what? Yeah, take the medicine. Save your kid's life. I think any reasonable person would say that. And now we're at the point where people need to get clever. They need to get creative. They need to get crafty in fighting back against this regime because they are so lawless and they act in so many unconstitutional and clearly immoral ways that for us to just fucking lay down and take it, that is more criminal than doing this, right? So, look, I think they're just getting started. I don't think they're going to stop. I think this is one of many things. And by the way, I don't know anything about hacking, but I'm sure they had to work like crazy to figure out exactly how to do this, exactly how to get this information. This isn't something you could just whip up in one afternoon and figure it out. I'm sure that there's a network of people who are highly intelligent, who really had to dig deep to try to get all this stuff. But now as a direct result of them, we'll get all the names of the people. And, you can imagine a scenario where it would make sense to take down the computer networks of the people who are using said computer networks to commit crime after crime, war crime after war crime, atrocity after atrocity. You have to make it untenable for these people to keep violating the law. You have to make it untenable for them. And the way I view it is very simple. They're not breaking the law here. Like they say, they're enforcing the law. That's what they're doing. Now, they're doing it free of their own volition. They're doing pro bono work here, but this is what they're doing. They are enforcing the law. And I think everybody should look at it that way. And we need this group to get 1,000 times bigger so that there's some mechanism by which we can hold these people accountable. I mean, the fact of the matter is, you all know this, Trump should already be impeached, removed, and then criminally charged for the dozens of crimes he commits every day. All these assholes in his government should be in that position. But the Republican Party is a cult. All the politicians bend the knee. And so here we are, where now you can't charge him criminally while he's sitting. He's not actually going to get through impeachment because then you'd need to have a very large number of Republicans to vote for it, and they're not going to fucking do that. So what are we supposed to do? Sit back and watch the fascist show as the country gets destroyed? No, it takes brave people doing creative things to get us to a better place. So there you have it, man. That is something there. That is something. You go check out the whole article. 404 Media wrote about it. As I said, I think they're just getting started, and I think this is going to get a lot more interesting. All right, y'all. I love y'all very much. You guys know the drill. Everybody, please do me a favor and sub to the channel. That means the world and costs you nothing at all. You can also click that bell icon to get a notification every time a video drops. Click that like button. Thank you to everybody who supports the show on Patreon. Could not do it without you. This is real independent media. Sign up for Crystal Kyle and Friends on Substack. That's below as well. And go subscribe to my boy Corin's channel. It's called Corin's World. We release Kyle and Corin's over there, and we've been doing it every day, every week since we started on his channel. We haven't missed a week yet since we started posting it on his channel. All right, I love you guys. I'll talk to you soon. Peace.
Well, so they hacked the names. That's what it is when you live in a world that's flooded with technology and the internet and everything. Everything becomes a target. Everything, if you're smart enough, becomes easy prey. And so Anonymous managed to get their hands on that, which means now, maybe people can find out the backgrounds of these individuals to find out which ones were the criminals and which one were innocent. Okay, they said that 80% of the people that they deported, okay, were not criminals or didn't have any criminal background. Okay, whatever, however they worded that. So that begs the question, then what other reason did they get deported for? Okay. So, because the administration is being very vague and dodgy about what the hell is, what's going on with that whole thing, it's frustrating people to no end to see that their own government is doing things that we've seen other countries do in the past that was horrific. And they're rightfully worried that this can go on in another step forward to be even more vindictive, to get rid of people the government simply doesn't like. Anybody, whether you're a citizen or not, doesn't matter. Okay, that's what people are afraid they're heading towards. Which they've already, I think they, mistakenly deported citizens out of this country too, and I think their names would be on that list if I'm not mistaken here. So we're gonna find out, if Anonymous does its homework with those names and figures out, what the criteria was. Because Garcia is not the only one here that was unjustly removed from this country. He wasn't no fucking criminal, no matter how Pam Bondi and Trump want to paint this guy, okay? They haven't proven a goddamn thing. As far as we're concerned, we haven't seen any evidence. It's just their word of mouth. And right now, their credibility is stretched beyond belief. So we can't trust anything they say. But, Kyle leaves us with an interesting conundrum here to think about, okay? Because I think that's basically what he was trying to lead us into as this debate here over how far should somebody go to do something that's right. Is it wrong to break some laws in order to save a country? Is it unethical to do some bad for the greater good? Do the ends justify the means? That's an age-old debate, isn't it? But here we are, we're faced with that. Each one of us is faced with that question. Okay? And we have to wonder, how far are we willing to go to protect what's ours? And when I say what's ours, I mean our identities, okay? Our very lives, our fucking property. Are we going to just sit idle and let the government take everything away from us that we busted our asses for? Because we're too afraid to break the law to protect it? I don't know. It's a very interesting and it's a very dark area of thought to go down, okay? Because we're faced, like I said, with this problem. We have a president who apparently feels he's above every law. He's at war with the courts, the justice system. He's at war with the Constitution, okay? He can take it or leave it. Doesn't matter to him. It's just words on paper as far as he's concerned. He doesn't care about the underlying meaning to the whole thing, okay? Doesn't matter to him. It's not important, okay? So here's a guy who's breaking the law in all kinds of places to get what he wants. And he feels he's justified to do it. even to hurt the country. So where's the greater good here in that? You know, what good is he serving by doing that? I don't see it. It's not the good of us. We're not getting anything out of what he's doing, breaking the law. Okay? Everything seems to benefit only him or people that work with him. That's the few. Breaking the law to benefit the few. That sounds like a mob, you know, like the mafia. They break laws to benefit the few themselves. Okay? Now, if we break the law to prevent other people from breaking the law to benefit themselves, are we in fact doing wrong? Technically, yes, because we are breaking laws, but we're also doing it for the greater good, to protect what we know as democracy, okay, what our forefathers had fought and died for to give us, you know, 250 years ago. We're trying to protect and defend that. So we don't have selfish reasons to break the law. What we have are nationalistic reasons to protect our government from those that are breaking the law. Okay? So Anonymous doing what it's doing feels like, you know, they don't have a choice. If you're going to be able to expose this administration to what kind of corruption they're into, you're going to have to break a few corners, or, you know, break down some walls in order to get to the truth. Okay? That every good reporter out there in the past has always, you know, pushed the envelope to get to the truth, and we hail them for that. Okay? We applaud their efforts. I mean, like Walter Cronkite and, you know, Mike Wallace and, you know, people like that who would go into the lion's den to get the fucking truth. Sometimes, you know, with the ire of our government in the background getting pissed off that they're even doing this. I mean, there's been many times, you know, the government tried to stop it. But, you know, having a free press is like what Anonymous is doing. Anonymous is doing like what our press should be doing. Okay? They should be getting to the fucking truth. But we don't have that kind of press anymore. I don't know if any of you even understand that, but these days our press is very, you know, they're only good for like local news. But when it comes to the national level, they're going to go where their bread is buttered the best. Okay, they're going to follow the what's popular. Okay, if that means loving Trump, then that's what they're going to do, because they're too busy covering their ass. They don't want to get sued. You know. But those concerns didn't exist decades ago. They would go out there and do this stuff, regardless of what the government thought, because they had protections, and they still do, by the way. They just, you know, they don't want to be sued, because it costs money to be sued. You lose a lot of money, and money is what talks in this country. Money, money, money. Okay? People do unethical things to get money. They break the laws to get money. And so when we try to expose the truth for the benefit of everyone, so we know and we are informed of what's going on, okay, these people can be seen as heroes. And Anonymous certainly is looked at as being heroes here for doing what we all wish we could do but don't have the means to be able to do. But Anonymous does. Okay? And they are helping to get information out there that later everybody else who's looking for the stuff will take and, you know, show us what's in with the things that they've got. Okay? They're going to help us out. They're not traitors to this country. They're actually patriots. Okay? Because they are protecting the country. All right? They're doing it in a secretive way, because the regime that's running this country doesn't want them to expose the truths that they're covering up. Okay? So you got a crime bunch, and they're trying to shut up and silence everybody who's trying to expose them for the crimes that they're doing. Okay? Now, on the smaller level, anybody, you know, any group of criminal cohorts working together, stealing shit out of stores all the time, okay, or stealing money out of banks, if anybody knows about that and they whistleblow on these people that are doing it, hey, who's going to stop this person from doing it? That person's going to be protected by the police, okay, so they can go into court and tell them what the hell's going on, okay? I mean, this is kind of what's happening right now. Only the big criminal is the president, and Anonymous is the one that's being the whistleblower here. So when do we go after whistleblowers for exposing the truth? Okay, we can deal with the methods in which they got it after the fact, but the bigger problem, which is the president, has to be number one. Okay, he has to be number one. Now, Pam Bondi has as much as said she'd go after anybody that's going to go after the president. Well, that's not her fucking job. Her job is to work for us. She's supposed to be anonymous here. She's the one that's supposed to be doing what Anonymous is doing by figuring out what the hell Trump's doing in the Oval Office and how illegal it is. That's her fucking job. She's working on the wrong side of the fucking fence. I don't know why she doesn't understand this. Maybe she didn't read the job description before she accepted it. Okay, but as Attorney General of the United States, her loyalties are not to the president, it's to the American people. And if he's doing something illegal, it's up to her, not Anonymous, to fucking expose that. But you see, the presidency is so corrupted, they even got her in the fucking mix. So what are we left to do? Vigilantes and Anonymous and stuff like that, that's all we're left with, okay? Because protests aren't enough anymore. And like, I can't remember who it was that says, we can't wait until 2027 or whatever, for things to change. The damage is very severe that he's already done to this country, and the damage will continue to get worse. Okay? So, things have to be done. Things have to be done. It's, and the ends, I guess, sometimes do justify the means, if it serves the greater good, and unfortunately, it's a depending on who you are kind of question. If you're a person that gives a shit about the country, then you would agree with me. If you're a person that isn't so loyal to America, you probably'd have a problem with that. Okay, I'm sorry if it makes me sound like some kind of a I don't know, but what I'm saying is, in this situation where you're watching people being deported, okay, like in this video here that I got here on YouTube, there was this ICE arrest of a woman holding a baby, and neighbors revolted against it as it was happening. Let me hope this will show up on the goddamn thing here. So let me.
Video obtained and published by the New York Post shows the car where ICE agents placed the mother and the teenage daughter holding her baby sibling. At one point, the teen and another girl, now with the baby, placed themselves in front of the ICE vehicle to try and block it.
They're screaming, "Where is the warrant?" while this is happening.
To try and break up the standoff and clear a path for the ICE vehicle, local police, who have now joined the scene, issue a warning.
This is the Worcester Police Department. This is an unlawful assembly. Order you to disperse right now or you're subject to arrest.
Need their names and badges.
This is the Worcester Police Department. This is an unlawful assembly. You're interfering.
Now see, the police is using the law to stop what's lawless. Okay, you know what I'm saying? The ICE being there with no warrant to take these people is against the law. But the police are there trying to say that what these people are doing is lawless.
And with that, the migrant mom was taken away as her baby and teenage daughter were left behind. However, local police then charged the teenager for alleged obstruction and child endangerment. This incident on Thursday, May the 8th, has sent shockwaves through the city of Worcester and the state of Massachusetts. As Media reports, Mayor Joseph Petty called the incident devastating. As someone who prides themselves on leading a welcoming city, I'm devastated to hear about the separation of a family, especially with Mother's Day around the corner. The fear of ICE tearing a family apart is the worst nightmare of so many in our city. Worcester officials say they were not notified by ICE ahead of the operation.
So there you go. ICE is doing something that's not legal by any definition of what they're supposed to be doing. The people gathering around are protesting this and making, trying to get in the way. And so the police show up to tell people they're the ones breaking the law by unlawfully assembling in front of this thing, okay? I mean, it's like... It would be like if the mafia was robbing a bank and the police came to stop people from showing up to stop them. Okay, that's the same fucking thing. Same fucking thing. So when people are sitting here getting mad at Anonymous for doing what they're doing, okay, I say, fuck you. Because we got a president who's doing worse, breaking more fucking laws than Anonymous is, okay? And they don't have anybody running to their defense for what they're doing, but Trump's got all kinds, he's got the fucking justice system under his thumb, and he's got lawyers defending him for what he's doing, okay? How would, the fucking table is upside down here. This is not supposed to be how our law and order is supposed to look in this country. We gotta have, order, and people are following the law all the way up to and including the president. Okay, without that, our justice system is meaningless. Meaningless, people. All right? So if it takes us breaking a few laws in order to whip this country back into being lawful and just and obeying the laws that we have and caring about justice, then I say, yeah, we got to do what we got to do. I mean, it's, we're told that, when your government is tyrannical, to fight it. I mean, who was it? It was Thomas Jefferson who said, when tyranny becomes law, rebellion becomes duty. And we've seen that happen, play out in other countries, where people have revolted against their government for being tyrannical. Remember, I don't know how many of you people remember, but during COVID, in China, they had whole neighborhoods where people were just locked down into their homes, in their apartments, okay? And they were not allowed out of the buildings. And these people were running out of food. And we're talking thousands and thousands of fucking people in these big neighborhoods, okay, in their apartments, high-rise apartments. And they had people on the ground with videos, recording. You could hear these people screaming out their windows. They were hungry, they needed food, and the government wasn't there to help them out. They weren't allowed out of those fucking buildings because they were trying... That was how they were dealing with COVID. Okay? I mean, are we going to sit still and let that kind of shit happen to us here? Or are we going to try to take steps to prevent that and avoid, you know, turmoil on that scale? I mean, it's our choice. You know, it really is our choice. And for people like ICE and those who are protecting ICE doing what they're doing, which is illegal, they will have to come to terms with that themselves, you know, in our justice system for having protected an illegal action, okay, and instead of stopping it, they're going to be held to an account for that too, you know. So they might be comfortable now following orders, but just like what happened in Nuremberg after World War II, all those people that felt confident to do what Hitler asked them to do, they were asked to explain themselves. And certainly following orders, you know, following orders was not an excuse to do the unthinkable, to do inhumane things, you know. And that moment will come, I guess, you know, if we ever regain control of our democracy again, because, you know, people that are head of these departments and certain individuals are going to have to be held to account for what they're doing now. All right, so that's it for today. Hope everybody has a great rest of the week. So subscribe, comment, share, keep your ears open for health issues out there, and treat each other fine. Be neighbors. Be there for each other when times get tough. I'll talk to you guys later. Take care.